Hey everybody, it's Ken Davenport. Welcome to the Producer's Perspective Live, episode number 5. Welcome, and guess what? It's World Theater Day. Woohoo! Happy World Theater Day, everybody. Actually, it's a really cool day. I posted this on my, look at that graphic that the lovely Mary made for us. It is World Theater Day, and I posted today on my Instagram, my whiteboard quote. As if you follow me, you know I put whiteboard quotes on my whiteboard every morning in my office. I am not in my office right now, so I had to improvise. That's what we do in the theater, right? We improvise. So my Microsoft Word on my computer screen that I'm staring at right now is my whiteboard. So this morning I just put a Happy World Theater Day quote, and I also said, what's amazing right now, because of stuff like this, and because I know we're all in this together, like the whole freaking world, I have never felt closer to all the theater people out there. So I see so much love going around in our community here in New York and people all over the world. So we are all in this together. I hope everyone out there is doing well and healthy and staying home. Don't forget, our big hashtag here at the Producer's Perspective Live is stay safe, stay healthy, and stay home. That's one of the reasons we're doing this, to remind everybody to do just that. And we're also bringing you great people. Great people. We had, if you didn't catch last night's broadcast with Alex Brightman, go back, watch the replay. All of these are replayed on my Facebook page, because Alex will certainly brighten your day. Very funny guy, made us laugh all the way through, so go check that out. And I hope it was, oh, look, there's Mary's there was a little slow there, Mary, about who's joining us this weekend. We are doing some weekends, because why not? Because it all feels like a weekend, right? Stephen Flaherty, Pam McKinnon joining us this weekend for the weekend edition. It was a beautiful day. If you're here in the city, it was the beginning of spring today, which was a sign of things to come. I think it was about 68 degrees. So shout out, let me hear it in the comments if you are in the city, and if you were able to do something today to just remind yourself about what's to come, just a glimpse of that sunshine, just thinking about what's ahead, because we will get there. We will get there. One PSA I wanted to say today, by the way, as I lean forward and look at, I'm wearing this nice shirt today. I mean, I actually put this on for you a few moments ago. I was like, oh, I'm doing the live stream. I better go put on a nice shirt. Here's the little secret. I'm going to tell you, like many people in the world, I'm wearing sweatpants, everybody. I'm wearing sweatpants. But I did put on a nice shirt for you, so I hope you'll appreciate that. I am wearing sweatpants. So I don't know where I went with that, but my PSA. So the PSA I want to do is, one of the industries that's suffering as much as the theater industry is suffering, it's another small business, are the restaurants and all those people and the takeout and delivery people in this city who are working their tails off. They're literally biking. They're delivering us lots of food. I know that. Although we love this thing called Green Chef, by the way. That's doing wonders for us. We're having fun cooking. But support your restaurants. Playbill did a great article today about a bunch of restaurants in the city. Support your local restaurants if you can, because they're suffering right now. Here's my favorite. Blondie's, 79th Street. I have been eating their wings. I had 2 Tony parties there. I've been eating their wings since like 1995 or something, since I moved up to the Upper West Side. Anyway, support your local restaurants. Enough of that. We have a fascinating guest for you today. This guy is one of the most powerful press agents in town. And he is a spin doctor. He is so good at coming up with really fantastic events that generate millions and millions of dollars worth of free press. He's repped some of the biggest Broadway musicals in the world, including actually the biggest, Spider-Man. We'll try to get some great stories of Spider-Man. This season alone, he's doing West Side Story. He's doing Diana. He represents some incredible celebrities out there as well. So without further ado, let's bring him on to the live stream today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rick Miramontez.
Hello. How are you, Ken?
He's there. I love it. Oh, look at that flash of orange I see. Those are some nice pants you got. Would those be sweatpants by any chance?
They're actually red, and I will show you. Not to plug a show too terribly much, but they're
sharks. They are sweatpants though, right?
Oh yeah.
They're show sweatpants. Okay.
Very comfortable.
I just love it. Friday is apparently sweatpant day for live stream folks. So tell me, where are you throughout all this?
I am in my apartment. We live in Lower Manhattan. If anybody got to see the Lehman trilogy, I'm at the epicenter of that story. Just 1 block north of Wall Street and 1 block south of Liberty Street.
And how are you doing through being hunkered down like this? What's your life like? You are one of the few people, like most theater people, actors, we've been talking, like they can't work. You actually are probably working harder and more right now, I'd imagine, trying to keep a lot of stories out there.
It's true. It's true. There are constant calls, and we look after the Actors Fund, so they are the busiest organization in New York. So it's been pretty busy.
Do you think this is the biggest story that Broadway has ever seen?
I cannot think of another story. Now, of course, what we are great at is the comeback. So the story is in its infancy and it is developing. And if I had my way, I could see the story going a certain way, but we're going to have to see. But yeah, biggest story, period.
So what do you think? What are your insights on what you think that comeback is going to be like? Do you think it's going to be audiences bursting back to the scene? Is it going to be gradual? Like what are you thinking right now?
I don't know. I mean, I think it could be either. Look, it's clear to me, and anybody who has an appreciation for history knows that live entertainment thrives in times of under times of duress, and I think that will be the case. But this is unprecedented, so we're going to have to see. What I do know is that Broadway is, the heartbeat of New York. So until Broadway comes back fully and forcefully, New York City is not going to come back. And I think there are a lot of people, the powers that be, who are going to make sure that that happens. Yeah,
it's such an insightful comment. For me, I felt like it was a tipping point for not only the city, but somewhat the country when Broadway announced it was shutting down.
Yes.
Like, all of a sudden, everyone was like, holy crap, this has to be really serious if Broadway's pulling the plug for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we are a real symbol, and it feels like when our factory starts making stuff again, the country will wake up a bit.
Couldn't agree more.
And from what I hear, it's going to happen around Easter. So no, it's not happening on Easter.
Well, I'm not betting on it, and though I'm a good Catholic, you will not necessarily find me in a church on Easter Sunday. Not to get political.
So what the shows this season you have right now? West Side, Diana.
West Side, Diana. We would have been opening shows left and right. The Lehman trilogy. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Diana, as you mentioned, and Plaza Suite. Everything. On top of each other. Potentially exciting. I remain excited. But the challenges exist to keep all of them percolating. We lost Virginia Woolf, which not to be too dramatic about it, but that's a big disappointment because those performances were extraordinary. And as Joe Mantello himself said, it was a personal best for Laurie Metcalf, which is really saying something.
Yeah, she really wanted to do that part too. This is something that she's been desperate to do. Do you think there's a chance it would come back at a later date at any time?
I would hope so. I mean, if anybody can do it, Scott can do that. And I think everybody is, they came together to do it because they wanted to do it. And I think there's absolutely a reason to make sure that production happens at some point.
I just, what I always say about press agents is you're half press agent, half therapist. I mean, you must be consoling a lot of people right now, from producers to big stars, et cetera. Like, what do you say to folks when they're down? Just like Diana, which doesn't get to open right now, hasn't. What do you say through all this?
Mutual therapy sessions, but I think really what we have to do is get very smart about, well, we have to sit and wait, which is unpleasant and unfortunate, and there's nothing to really be said about that. But beyond that, just keep everything percolating. But this week, we'll probably get into a more robust and creative mode in the coming weeks. This week, quite honestly, was still a shocker. And I think the conversations that, I had with people were really about staying alive and keeping our businesses going, frankly.
Right. Are reporters reaching out to you looking for stories about anything else but this right now? Or is it just all?
No, variations on the theme. Yeah.
And today I heard for the first time, actually, because of course layoffs are hitting everybody and everywhere, right? Because look, your company alone, for people out there who don't know, and by the way, if you have any questions for Rick, you should just throw them in the comment section. We'll ask him. But for people out there who don't know, Rick receives a weekly paycheck from a show just like an actor or an actress or a musician. You are that kind of salaried employee. Correct. You have a company. So all of a sudden, all those paychecks just stop, right? And your company's big. How many staffers?
There are 14 of us, and it's a precarious time because we were fully staffed with a giant roster of shows that were running or about to open. So it's a tricky time for this to have happened.
Mm-hmm. So a show like Diana, though, obviously we haven't, thank God, we all hear that that's fully a go, which I'm very excited about. So what will you probably won't tell us, but I want to hear about the Rick Miramontez ideas for how these shows are going to come back. Do you think you have some stunt ideas? What will you do to provide us?
That's a great question, and I'm not going to say more than I should because I don't know that our producers would like it, or I'm not going to float an idea before I do it with the producers. But I will say that the dynamic that exists with and for Diana and every show across the board has to do with the audience coming to the theater. So probably the big ideas to me have to do with who's coming to the show and when, and who's going to generate the most excitement about being in the theater to see the show. And with Diana thematically, you could guess.
Aha. Let's get into, I actually think you're one of the most creative idea guys around when it comes to getting attention for shows. How do you come up with this stuff? Do you sit down, do you whiteboard, do you brainstorm? Is there let's start with this. What's your favorite thing you've done for any show? The favorite big stunt you've done for anything?
Oh, that's such a tough question. I would want to say that I'm not going to be specific about one thing, but I would imagine that working on Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, which was just maligned at every turn, we were really on the defensive. And what I loved about that project was, and I think it came out of a genuine love of the show and needing to and wanting to protect the people who made the show and the people, especially the people who were in the show. We just came up with a really fun sense of humor, and we just said, basically, have at it, because we are right here for you. And it was like playing a really aggressive but yet fun tennis match with somebody, with the media. It started with, I think it was Conan O'Brien, who on his show, he went on and did a monologue that was so rude about the show. And everybody was worked up. I thought it was mildly funny. Everybody was worked up. And we did have to have a meeting about it. And somebody suggested just like let it bounce off of you. And that didn't go over very well. But I think I suggested that we send him flowers. And then my colleague, Andy Snyder, who is a super wag, came up with the note that was attached to the flowers. Dear Conan O'Brien, please accept these flowers graciously. They were cheaper than a cease and desist. Love, Spider-Man, turn off the dark. And that turned into our, sort of etiquette and style about how to deal with the media. And of course, as you can imagine, everybody came after us. And it became sort of a running challenge slash joke. But the thing about that show, because of our engaging the media in the way we did, it was entertaining and we got much more coverage. And it's the only time I saw this happen, but it can be done and it is true. And I saw it with Spider-Man. The audiences that came to see that show, they absorbed the coverage so much that I think when they came into the theater, they were rooting for the show. And the show they saw was 10 times better than the show that was performed on stage. And it was a really great lesson in just being bold with a teeny tiny middle finger up. It was enjoyable. And I have to say the producer of that show, the reason why it happened in such a way, Michael Cole was the producer of the show, a rock music legend. And he was very clear. He pulled me aside and he said, look, I'm doing this. You're doing this with me, but I need to be clear. I'm not going to do your interviews for you. I'm not going to do press. If you really, really need me, I'll do it, but that's not going to be how it's going to be. I am the president. You are the press secretary. You have to go out there and do it. And he really gave me carte blanche to just sort of create a PR style for the show. And, I love when Broadway gets covered by the national media. So we really worked it.
Yeah, one of the best pieces of advice I got from an early press rep of mine was you'll know you've made it when you've got written up off the theater page. Like that should be your goal.
Absolutely true. And that's a goal. That's fun because that is really kind of a litmus test. That's a goal for us.
Yeah, I love it. Let's ask, this is an interesting one. J.W. Arnold has a question. Do you think all the webcast performances of theater and concert during this pandemic will condition audiences to just accepting them on a screen as opposed to live? So we're all doing all of this work on live streaming right now. Do you think this could actually push people towards it more and want it more rather than coming back to us live?
I can't imagine. I think the performers and actually the naturalness coming from Broadway stars. I'm particularly amused by Patti LuPone's basement activities.
I just emailed her to try to get her to come on because she's probably like, no, I'm showing my basement too much.
I think it's a total one-off and completely entertaining. But I think at best, what it's going to do is make you want the real thing live.
Yeah, I agree. I always use the analogy of when I used to watch Red Sox games on television and see Fenway Park, and that's all I watched for years. I just made me want to go to the park even more.
Yeah.
What I hope actually happens is that all this live streaming just gets us to embrace live streaming as another form of marketing down the road.
Yeah, and I would think that could be the net result. I learned, like you learned watching baseball, I learned at a very young age in LA. I was a huge fanatic, roller derby fanatic, and a big fan of the LA Thunderbirds.
Oh yeah.
And on Sundays, you would go to the Olympic Auditorium and watch the match that was televised on Sunday night, and that was all just to come on to sell tickets to the live events in California for the circuit during the week. And it made complete and utter sense. So I was trained for that kind of commercial, and I do think that this online activity similarly could and will help us.
Justin Payne asks, what's the most difficult part of being a press agent?
I think the most difficult part, yes, there's a lot of wear and tear. You have a lot of personalities, conflicting personalities, and you're sort of stuck in the middle. You have your producer who pays you. You have your performers, that you need to take care of. You need them to do things for you on behalf of your producer. But you are also a representative that is of aid to the press. And the press is a lot of times at odds with the producers. So you're sort of in the middle of very conflicting situations almost always.
What do you do when you have relationships, close relationships with all the reviewers, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's why I'm valuable to my clients.
So when Ben Brantley slams one of your shows, right, that you're working on,
yeah,
and your producer is just weeping, right, just crying a puddle of tears at the ad meeting, and then he's like, oh, I'm so mad, how could he give it? And you've got to call and talk to Ben about some other show the next day, or do you have how does that conversation go with Ben? Boy, you really slammed that sound. What? Why?
I don't think I've ever had a conversation with Ben about a pan. I really absorbed it recently. I won't name the show, but I was really shocked by his review, and it almost ruined the night. Mercifully, the producer was like, "Buck up, it's fine."
You took it that personally in a way.
Oh yeah, I was just in stun. But I had to talk to Ben 2 days later, and we never discussed it. And I don't think there's anything to discuss. The only time I sort of let that, I became a little undisciplined was that I felt the pile on by the critics over Escape to Margaritaville. I just thought that was so below the belt, and I found some of those reviews just reprehensible. And I really let a few guys have it. They really just had to listen, and they were okay about it, I guess.
Let's go to another question here. When a producer, Eli asked, when a producer you haven't worked with yet wants to hire you for their show, what's the first question you ask them? What makes you sign on to a show?
What a great question. I don't know that I have a good answer for that. What would I ask a producer? I have a sense of the show. I have a sense of my affinity for the show, but you learn to love all your shows. It doesn't really matter whether the show is fantastic or the show isn't fantastic. It's the intention. And I can easily sign on and easily love a show and promote a show. What I would say to a producer, if I had that good question, is what is important about this show to you? Get into their head a little bit about their vision. Luckily, I work with the same producers a lot and have known these people for a long time, so I don't really question their motivations, their taste, and what it's about, for them. But that's a great question.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question now. When this is all over, what's the one thing you're going to look forward to the most about when you can actually get out in the world again? It can be anything. It can be going to get ice cream, can be doing whatever you want. What's the one thing that you miss the most right now that you would want to do first when this is all over?
Yeah, that's an easy one. Standing in the back of a theater and catching 10 minutes of a show. And, 2.5 weeks ago, I really had a rhythm down. I started on 44th Street and I ended on 52nd Street. and I saw bits and the right bits of so many shows, and it was completely exciting. So I think that's what I would want to do. Plus, I will add to that and say I will want to be in the audience and just see lots of shows.
Oh, Scott Werntz, I got to ask this one. Which show that you've worked on brought you the most joy? Which is your favorite show to ever work on? And which show did you pass on? Have you ever passed on a show and regret doing so?
Okay. There are so many shows that really are off the bophometer in the joy category. I loved Hair so much. I loved Kinky Boots so much. I loved moments, during the life of a lot of shows. I have to say, in the last few years, there was one show that we worked on called After Midnight. Scott Sanders was the producer, and that was just a magical, old school endeavor that was completely exciting. The people that I got to work with, I met Isabel Toledo, the designer, Isabel and Ruben, got to work with Katie Lang, and it was a thrilling, exciting evening of Duke Ellington music. And I was thrilled to be there, and I was there almost every night. Lately, I have to say, I really get off on seeing West Side Story, and I watch little bits of that all the time. To Kill a Mockingbird remains exciting. And we did this thing at Madison Square Garden that was off the charts and a lifetime highlight. Not to mention that we went to Washington and got to work with Speaker Pelosi at the Library of Congress with that show. That's been a very exciting one. And Dear Evan Hansen is spectacular. I was with that one from the beginning, and that has always been, as you can imagine, very exciting and special, watching it grow and become the thing it has. And I just love standing in the back of the Imperial and watching Ain't Too Proud. That's a show to me, and I do that 3 times a week, and I really miss it.
I mean, this is what I love about you. I said, what's your favorite show? And you just listed every single show in your resume. But you're so happy talking about all of them. You're like,
wow. And I was so proud of my rhythm. I would start at 7 on 44th at Mockingbird and work my way up. And I got to see the end of Act 1 of Hadestown, which is thrilling, as anybody who has seen it can attest to. And I would always get to 53rd Street and West Side Story before the finale.
All right, one more question we're going to ask Mark Boudreau. You keep saying the press. What do you consider the press today? How does social media come into play with what you do? Is an influential podcaster who operates out of his mother's basement a press person? Like, do you deal with podcasters and bloggers and people like that now? Is that a new world?
You have to. Look, if they're annoying, they're annoying. But if they're really good and supportive and sharp, you want to sort of lift them and support them. So it's a mixed bag. Definitely something that you have to deal with, no question.
Well, you know what I love dealing with? I love dealing with you. Since we met several years ago, Rick was a press agent on the national tour of Jekyll and Hyde, which is where I met him. And when I was my first company management gig. And for those of you who don't know, I don't even know if we've announced it, Rick will be the press agent for my upcoming musical based on the life and music of Neil Diamond. And already he's cooking up some incredible ideas for us.
So exciting. That's going to be a biggie. And it's going to be the kind of show, one of those shows that we're going to want in the comeback to Broadway.
That's right. That's right. So thank you for joining us here tonight. Thanks for joining me on that show. Everyone say goodbye to Rick Miramontez and thank you for joining on the Producer's Perspective Live.
Thank you, everybody. We go way down yonder.
Well, that's episode 5 of the Producer's Perspective Live. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. A few things. Don't forget, we've got a whole bunch of guests, including coming up this weekend. We are going on the weekend as well. Tomorrow, Stephen Flaherty, the composer of Once on This Island, Lucky Stiff, Ragtime, that little show, which I worked on as well. Director Pam McKinnon. I haven't talked to Pam in a long time, so I'm just looking forward to seeing her again. And don't forget our messages. Oh, next week. We want to put up next week. Stephen Sater, Spring Awakening. Jen Tepper, social media guru, Be More Chill producer. Alan Cumming, for God. Look at all these people. It's amazing. Sergio, Janine. We've got an incredible lineup coming every single day until this thing is over, and it will be over. But until then, a couple of messages. Don't forget, stay safe, stay healthy, stay the heck home. There are signs that this is working all over the world now, even some of the hot spots. We are seeing signs that social distancing is working. So just remember that. Listen to Governor Cuomo. He's got it down pat. Don't forget about the Actors Fund. Please, you heard Rick say that this is an incredible organization that needs a lot of help right now. Don't forget about them. Also, just a reminder, it's okay to wear sweatpants. It's okay to wear sweatpants whenever you want this day. So enjoy yourself, have fun, try to find a little joy in your life. This will be over. Our hearts go out to anyone suffering right now and anyone that is ill. And we're going to do this for them because we're going to keep the lights on here and eventually the lights will be back on Broadway. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow night. Bye, everybody.